Thank you so much for the introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the last day of E-Symposium. You might be joining in from different regions of the world. So here in Pakistan, it's a bright Friday morning. For the next 45 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the ways we can cultivate the love of reading among our students. These are the session outcomes. I'm going to start off with the big, broad brush strokes of theory. The main theoretical underpinnings that I'm going to explore today is reading for pleasure. We shall be exploring ways in which reading for pleasure will help us build the reading culture. We are going to wrap this up with the practical bits and pieces, and I'm going to share the practical teaching strategies that you can apply in your classes. Before we head into the session, let's have a quick survey. I would like to know that how do you rate yourself as a reader based on the extensive teaching? Could you please share your responses in the chat box, as I'm really eager to know that how many books you have read in the last month. I can see lots of responses are coming in. Great, keep going. Please keep typing in as I'm reading all the responses. I can see lots of you have read one book. And most of you are saying 3. Great. And large majority of participants have said no book. Okay. Thank you so much for all your responses. Let's move on towards the session. Just take a minute to read this beautiful quotation by Mark Twain. And please let me know whether you agree or disagree with the quotation. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. I can see lots of you agree with the quotation. So according to Mark Twain, onus lies on the educators and parents to hone the children's skills and reading ability so that they can develop the love of reading. But the question is how we are going to cultivate the love of elective reading in our societies, and what are actually the underlying factors involved that we want to develop when we are going to develop the love of reading among our students. As we have just spoken about, these are actually the key factors that can be kept in mind while we are looking forward to have a reading community. And you can ask this question, how this visual resonates with our teaching scenario. It's just a row. There are no 1 or 2 or 3 steps that we can follow to inject the love of reading among our students. So why it is up here? As most of you would know that this is the best piece of research that we can take into account when we are considering the love of reading among our students and when we really want to build the reading communities. This is actually the visual representation of the simple view of reading given by Hollis Scarborough. She has explained fluent reading with the help of a rope. There are lots of bits and pieces collaborating together at the same time, and we can talk about these complex processes involved in reading in a very simple way. At the top, we have multiple language threads that are woven together, such as background knowledge, vocabulary, grammar, semantics, and verbal reasoning. At the bottom, we have word recognition strands, such as awareness of the sound structure, idea that letters of the alphabet represent sounds, and recognition of the familiar words. Both of these strands twist together to make the rope strong. If any of the strand is weak or not tight enough, then this will affect the whole strength of the rope. So this will help us explore where to look for as an educationist or a parent if we are facing any if the children is facing any difficulty, or if the students are not reading for pleasure, what are actually the underlying key factors we should keep into consideration. Let's do a quick survey. Do you read for pleasure? I would like to know your thoughts and comments. What actually pleasure means to you. So what do you think? Intrinsic motivation is important for pleasure? Or you are only focusing on the extrinsic factors? Is satisfaction is the ultimate aim of your reading? What is actually your definition of reading? Could you please share your responses in the chat box? I can see a couple of responses in the chat box, so please keep typing in. There are very interesting definitions coming up. Some of you look for the pleasure, and for most of you have written intrinsic motivation. Great. Happiness, sense of achievement, absorption, sense of pride, satisfaction, happiness, okay. Contentment. Thank you so much for all your responses. Now take a minute and read this definition of reading for pleasure. As you have read that this is the best definition of reading for pleasure or elective reading, you can say, this is actually the reading that we really want to do or someone has asked us to do, but we carry on doing this for our rest of our life. Do you know how we actually implement reading for pleasure in our daily routines? We as teachers sometimes set aside only 10 to 15 minutes during our literacy lessons. And if God forbid, if any child is not submitting to our rules, then we are going to head straight towards that child and we'll say something like this, that why, Umar, you're not reading, you're not involved in reading. So this is the book that you have to read. So I'm really sorry to say that in this way, we cannot build the reading culture. So if that is not the strategy to work on, so what is actually your quick fix or your strategy to hook the children towards reading? What is the solution available in front of you? How do you make someone read for pleasure? Could you please start typing in your responses in the chat box? While all of you are typing in your responses in the chat box, I would like, in the meantime, I'm going to discuss this book a bit that is in front of your screens. This is the wonderful analogy given by a psychologist, Allison. The name of the book is The Gardener and the Carpenter. She talks about two types of modern parents. The one is just like the gardeners, and the others are just like the carpenters. The gardeners and the carpenters, when it comes to the carpenters, they really want their child to be the doctor or the engineer. So they always want to chisel them into a proper shape. They have their set of rules for their children, and they want them to be engineers or the doctors in the future. And then we have another category of parents who behave like a gardener. They actually see their children flourish. So instead of chopping them off with whatever they like, they actually make the conditions right so that they can come to know and they can actually provide the right amount of light, soil, nutrients, and water. So as educators, we should be like gardeners so that we can make the conditions right for our children. In this way, children will be able to see wonderful and enjoyable activity. So in this way, children will be able to see reading a wonderful or the enjoyable activity. When children read for pleasure, so these are actually the benefits that come along with reading. There is a huge body of research that is available which suggests that children's positive reading attitude deals with the wider academic success. It will help them improve the breadth of vocabulary. It will altogether improve the comprehension and the writing ability. They will have more self-confidence as a reader. And they will ultimately have pleasure reading in later life. This can be represented with the help of the Matthew effect. It links reading with the kind of a spiral. The more we are going to read, the more it replicates and resonates in our own personality. And ultimately, it leads to the academic success. So everything starts from the enjoyment. And it's a kind of a circular activity. The more you're going to do, the more you're going to get out of it. And in this way, the spiral goes on. And ultimately, it leads towards the motivation, towards the reading. These are actually the two main pillars for building the reading culture. It is actually the parental engagement within the school, especially in the literacy activities, so that the children can become the good readers. So as per the research by National Literacy Trust, young people who read outside the class daily are 13 times more likely to read above the expected level of their age. School needs to foster good relationship with their parental body. Parents and teachers can take ideas from Oxford Owl for Parents website.
Hello, I'm Isabel Thomas, an educational author, primary school governor and parent of 3 young sons. Since my children were babies, I've been keen to make books and reading feel really special. This doesn't mean saving books for special occasions or treating them more carefully than other toys. This would totally ruin their appeal. It's about making the experience of sharing books special.
How do you think chocolate eggs are made? Well, there is a factory run by a bunny that's Mr. Bunny to you.
Reading together at bedtime is a big part of this. It's a special cosy time when your attention is totally on the child. Reading dens are a way to bring that feeling into other parts of the day. Reading dens are special spaces to curl up with a book. They don't need to be extravagant or permanent. In fact, temporary dens built from household objects are best.
How many eggs? That's impossible, but accidents will happen. Can we even eat that much?
There are loads of different ways to make one. Challenge your child to use a rug, a sheet, or even a pile of cushions to create a cubby hole in an unexpected place.
Did you read something? It's nice and warm, isn't it? There we go.
You could turn a cardboard box into a reading castle, or drape a sheet over a washing line to create a reading tent, or just crawl under a table. Small children can even snuggle up under an umbrella on a rug. To turn a den into a reading den, just add cushions, blankets, and books.
Bananas lose appeal for Barnaby.
Sitting down to read 1 or 2 books together is a reward at the end of the den building. Children love the novelty of reading in unexpected places, outdoors or in the dark with a torch. If you crawl in and share just 1 book with them, that's a special experience. If you're enjoying reading and clearly value it, your child can see that reading is important.
Oh, look, what's there now?
The den might only last a few days or hours before you pack it up, but it's the novelty that's important. No expensive teepees or tree houses needed, and it's fun to start from scratch again next time. Reading dens will help your child to associate books with adventures, which is exactly what they are.
So I hope you liked the previous video that was taken from the Oxford Owl website. In words of Holden, the path of the reader is not a runaway, but a mere hack through the forest with individual twists and turns, entanglements, and moments of surprise. In order to give every child their own rich experience, it is the need to broaden their literacy palette. So these are actually some of the key broad ideas we need to discuss on. The first we are going to talk about this is the great stories. For a rich literacy diet to students, we need to pick and choose the books that have the cultural resonance. Some great stories from the past about different traditions, myths, and legends. This is one of my favorite books, The Empty Flower Pot. It was a traditional tale that shows the fruits of honesty, no matter what will happen. The elderly looks after the hare in a very unusual way. This story is part of the Dragonfly series that is related to the Asian culture. It is available in the book in the both hard and the soft form as well. Next, we are going to discuss about the mirrors and the windows. Sometimes books act like mirrors so that the children can see themselves as part of their being reflected in the books. On the other hand, books can be seen as windows to open their viewpoint towards other side of the picture. So this book about the little Jimmy's struggle in the playground. Jimmy is so sad and crossed because he's unable to play different tricks in the playground. So with the help of this book, children can mirror themselves. That is okay to have mental blockades. So it leads to the inner journey of self-reflection. And this way, children will be able to uncover their barriers. Next, we are going to deal with themes with the big ideas. We as educators and parents should go for the books that encapsulates the rich broad ideas. This shows that the book shows some kind of a human truth or a phenomena. This book deals with the story of a magic box. It is the celebration of the human phenomena that is aging. It talks about the Double Ninth Festival, which is a rich depiction of the Chinese literary tradition. And it says that old peoples are not that boring as it seems to be. So now we are going to move on towards the last bit about the practical teaching strategies that we can use in our classes. The first one I'm going to discuss is modeling good reading behavior. So in this teaching strategy, teachers are going to model good reading behavior in front of the students while the students are busy doing something else, some kind of writing or a group task. Teacher is going to grab a book and visually enjoy the book in front of the students. By sitting in front of the children, reading the book and enjoying it and laughing by reading the text, and then they're going to place it back to any of the corner. So it will give them the guarantee that students are going to pick that book later on. Then we are going to discuss the 24-hour reading collage, in which teachers usually enter into the classroom with a broad, rich collage full of pictures or important bits and pieces to show their 24-hour reading journey. She can take the cutouts, pictures, or any newspapers that she has read in the past 24 hours. And this way, students will feel motivated, and this can be taken as a reading activity in order to build the rich reading literacy diet. At times, the schools invite mystery readers that arrived at a set time to surprise the students. They can be parents, aunts, siblings, or any other teacher or principal. Children can also enjoy the snuggly story time with the help of the virtual bonfire placed on the multimedia interactive whiteboard. Children are going to cuddle around by bringing in their favorite toy to enjoy reading with their good friends. We can also have a book selfie display in the classroom about their favorite books. Or they can show us the nomination box. So whatever we have discussed about this in this session, you can have a link of the Dropbox. I'm going to share a few research articles with you if you're interested in building the outstanding reading school. So please download the 6 best top tips by James Clements. Or if you are interested in building reading communities for engaged readers, so you can download the book by Teresa Kramen. Please always purchase Oxford Janman books, as book piracy is a crime. These are actually the references. Thank you so much. Now the house is open for questions and answers.